Hi there, it's Alexandra here from the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog, and it's the early winter garden tour. We've had a pretty mild autumn. It's between 6 and 12 Celsius, which is 42 to 54 Fahrenheit, and lots of rain, which has made it a very good time for planting and also for sort of rethinking the garden. Although I did wake up this morning to snow, which was rather exciting. This is the month where I look back on how the garden's been last year and then look for inspiration on how to improve it for next year. And I've also done a few things in early winter that actually, if you look in the garden jobs lists, will probably be listed for other months. Because there are some jobs that you need to do at specific times of year, such as pruning, but there are other jobs that you can actually do when it's convenient for you rather than when it's the best time. And one of those, for people who have quite mild winters, is reshuffling your pots and replanting pots. But I'll go into detail of more of that later. If you're new here, the Middlesized Garden uploads free videos every Saturday, and if you'd like to see them when you open up YouTube, click the subscribe button. And if you'd like YouTube to tell you when new videos are uploaded, then click the notifications bell. Looking back at the garden over the past year, I've put together a short 1-minute video going through the garden and its highlights from January to December. As you know, I don't do many brand collaborations because if I work with a brand, I want to know it's a brand I really like and that I also think you will really like. And one of the places that all my life I've got the most inspiration from is magazines. So when Readly approached me, I was really quite excited. Magazines were my great passion when I was a child, and a lot of my career has been in magazines. I used to work for Good Housekeeping and also for Harper's Bazaar. And I've written for Ideal Home and The Times magazine and lots more. But I have become rather disconnected from magazines in the last few years because it's quite a bore to go out and buy them, and also you've then got them hanging around the house and I feel guilty when I throw them away. And Readly is a digital magazine subscription service, rather like Spotify but for magazines. And so this seemed to me like a brilliant way of reconnecting with one of my favourite sources of inspiration. You sign up for a small monthly fee and up to 5 people can use your account. And you can then specify your areas of interest, such as gardening, but you can see any one of thousands of magazines. I found it very easy to sign up and use, and I immediately went to Gardener's World where I loved what they'd done with some winter shrubs. And of course then I checked out Good Housekeeping, my old home, to see if any of my former colleagues were still working there. Readly works on either a laptop or a tablet or a mobile. I don't have a tablet, so I was perfectly happy using it on my mobile. And it was great to be able to reconnect with all those things I'd loved, whether it's food or fitness. Magazines are just very specific, so they really get you some extra information, I've always found. If you'd like to try Readly for free, use the link in the description below. You get 1 month free, and after that it's $7.99 a month and you can cancel at any time. So now for the pot reshuffle. You won't find reorganise your pots in any list of early winter gardening chores, but if you have a mild climate like mine, it's absolutely fine to do it now. Often people recommend that you put your pots on pot feet to stop the water from settling in the pot and then freezing if you have frosts, but I find it's not really necessary. However, if you do have your pots on saucers, I would remove the saucers because obviously they could gather water and then that could freeze. If you've got any particularly tender pots, pull them in towards the house because your house acts like a great warming brick, and pots very near the house will be more sheltered than those further away. But my particular issue was a bit different from that. I've had evergreen shrubs in pots for far too long. I've had a recent comment from Malti Maru who said, could you do a video on pots that don't need changing every season? And in fact, I have done a blog post on that, which I'll put into the description below. But my plants have been in their pots for years. For far too long, actually. These box plants have been in for 9 years, and one of them, as you can see, is looking very sick. It really is time to get those boxwoods into the ground, where they should be okay. And if you're trying to get a plant out of a pot where it's been in for a long time, particularly if the pot is round, the roots may get stuck in the pot, so you may have to cut away the roots. All this pot moving was a bit too much for me on my own, so I got Felix and William to help, and they really had to tussle with it. So we got the bigger plants out of the bigger plots. Then we moved some of the smaller plants into the bigger pots. And we've moved the architectural plants, the topiary, into the back border to make even more topiary there. And I think that's worked very well. But what that means is that we've left with the lower plants, the smaller plants, in the parterre area. And that's taken away a certain amount of vertical interest from that part of the garden. And it's also made it more open. It runs into the back lawn more. For some people, that might be what they prefer. It's not a question of right or wrong, but I think I would probably prefer to have some taller plants in the pots there. So I may redo this at some point, probably in the spring. I'd be interested to know what you think. And another job that's technically not really done in early winter is planting bulbs. It's an autumn job. But I've discovered that actually, if you plant bulbs very late, they very often come up, and tulips are often better planted really in early winter rather than in autumn. The advantage, of course, is that you may pick up some bargains, some sale bargains. And the disadvantage is that the bulbs you really want may have sold out. But anyway, I have actually planted daffodils in January and seen them come up in March. If you've enjoyed this, do hit like, because that really helps me know what you enjoy. And if you'd like more tips, ideas and inspiration, do subscribe to the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.